Hey guys, Sunsfan here with a guide to a very cool build that I came across during the We Play tournament a few weeks ago. I've been playing a lot of this, and you'll be seeing some gameplay during this guide as well. Thanks for your suggestions on that. This is, of course, the very famous now Primordial Mage Assassin build. So what I want to do is just briefly talk about kind of what the early game looks like, but then kind of focus on what units you want to end up with. We'll talk about positioning. We'll talk about what items you want to put on heroes and what stage of the game that you actually want to start pushing really hard. So first things first, Primordial. What you get when the hero dies as Primordial, you get a little Eidolon. That doesn't do that much damage depending on what kind of items you have, but it can be very annoying to deal with. And they can kind of serve as a tank for heroes that maybe aren't great tanks to begin with, like Razor, for example. So very early in the game, these are the two units that you're looking for. Razor and Tiny, the Primordial Gods. This will get you through the early game pretty nicely, and if you do it the correct way, or the ideal way, I should say, you actually end the game with these heroes in a lot of cases. Of course, there are some caveats to that. So there's a lot of things you can do in the early game. I mentioned Assassins. You can just put any assassins you want. Morphling is the most important hero in this entire build, by the way. Always find Morphling. And let's just put a Queen of Pain. So this is like an example of a decent early game lineup that can get you some early wins. You got assassins, you got primordials, and you're good to go. If you're not finding a ton of assassins, then you can go for, a simple warrior. Let's see, just anything, really. You just have Razor in the back line, Razor behind the warriors, and Axe, doesn't matter. Just anything to get you through the early game. This is like level 5, obviously. Really want to find Morphling at all costs. Something that I would recommend you do is always check the scoreboard. This goes for pretty much any build. If somebody's going for your exact build, you might want to, at least tweak it a bit, if not just do something completely different, but kind of dependent. So the units that you're going to want to end up with in the mid to later stages of the game, with Tiny in front, as we talked about, he will always be there, my boy. So the 3 assassins, this is very interesting. So Morphling obviously needed because he's primordial and an assassin. You need eventually, you might not be, this is where Quap comes in handy. You keep Quap for a long time until you find this guy, but Sand King is so crucial in this build because of his crowd control. His Burrow Strike is 100% needed for this. Tiny has a little bit of that, but this will be your main CC for this build. And then the third assassin will actually be Viper, who is your biggest tank. Tiny is probably your secondary tank compared to Viper if all things go well. But we did mention Mage, and Puck is going to... Let me just put the heroes down that you really want into the mid game. So right here, this is what your build will look like for the most part. So, of course, you can substitute Sand King for any other assassin temporarily until you find a level 2 Sand King, as we talked about. But at level 7, it's going to kind of look like this. So Puck and Viper in the same lineup, they activate each other. So Puck gets the phase shift, and Viper gets Corrosive Skin. And, of course, with Corrosive Skin, it is magic damage, and the fact that you have 3 mages means that it's going to be a lot of damage that anybody that attacks Viper is going to take. It's similar if you think to the old global item Retaliate that they got rid of. It works a lot like that. Anybody that hits Viper is going to take a ton of damage. So this hero is unbelievably good in this build. So when I start to find my power spike is actually, let's pretend we don't have Sand King here. At level 6, once I get 3 mages... and my Morphling's level 2, this hero, it just feels like you just start winning instantly. It feels really good. But let's get back with our CC here. And of course, talked about Primordial. It wouldn't be for Primordial or the full Primordial without the Arc Warden. So let's talk about Arc Warden a little bit. This is a very interesting hero. I feel like he's a little bit item dependent, and you don't really want to force him too early. I feel like this is a hero that you start to really take advantage of at level 8, which you want to stay at level 8 for probably quite a while to get these level 2 and sometimes level 3 units. But in terms of positioning, I always have Viper in front, Tiny next to him. CM behind is kind of, she's shielded, giving people mana, and then Razor next to her. Puck, you can kind of put wherever. Sometimes I have Sand King in front just to activate his Burrow Strike early. Kind of depends on what items you have as well. But Puck, I like putting right above Arc Warden and Arc Warden in the corner. And the reason for that is this gives Arc Warden only one choice, which is right here to create his clone. And because Puck is right here, it's likely if they initiate onto Arc Warden that they will kill the clone, which means he'll just create a new one again, over and over again. Which, if you played against this, you already know how it goes. It's very annoying. But very strong in the right hands, of course. So yeah, this is the very, very basic lineup that you will have. And in terms of what you want to get to level 3, and of course, things will vary every single game. Sometimes you don't even have a choice. But number one choice for level 3 unit easily is Morphling. This is by far your most important hero. He's not actually elusive, but he's very elusive in nature because he's such a low cooldown on waveform. He does a shit ton of damage. The second most important hero to get level 3, believe it or not, in my opinion, is actually Viper. Viper, once he gets to level 3, he becomes huge. His corrosive skin does a lot of damage, as we talked about, but remember, his magic resistance at level 3, I believe, is 70% innate magic resistance with corrosive skin. It is ridiculous. Number 3 on the list for level 3 is Puck. Very underrated hero that received buffs not too long ago, and she does an insane amount of damage just by herself. Do not underestimate this hero. Those 3 heroes I feel like are almost necessary to get level 3 if you want to have a chance to win the game. And of course, Luxury, which number 4 would be probably Tiny, and then Razor. Arc Warden's probably never getting 3. Sand King's never getting level 3. But if you end up going to level 9 at some point in the game, which it's rare that you go to level 10 with this build, but level 9, it does happen fairly frequently. I've seen a lot of people put a second Sand King in to get some more Burrow Strike action. I personally really like, if I can find the dragons, the other dragon, Dragon Knight. This gives you 2 DPS boys. And of course, like we've talked about before, it is very dependent on what kind of items you're getting. If you have Fall from Grace, this gives you Heartless with Crystal Maiden. So a lot of times you get like a Fall from Grace early, and it feels kind of bad to have with this build because you don't really have humans or Heartless, but with Dragon Knight you get that. And if you do get a DK, like I said, it's your second DPSer. So you just put Sand King here, not that it really matters. You just put the DPSers at opposite sides so that if there's a disruptor, for example, on the enemy team, they can only shut down one of them at a time. Just want to spread out as much as possible. Summoning Stone is also a very good item to get if you're going to go for Primordial, because, in fact, I've gotten 2 in the game that we're going to be showing. I got 2 of these, and it is ridiculous. These Eidolons actually do a lot of damage as a result. And in terms of other items, let's just go through each hero. Not each hero, but the heroes that you'll see a huge impact. So Arc Warden, Maelstrom's a great item. Basher's pretty good. Later game Scotty, Dagon, obviously very good. If you have nothing, just the Gloves of Haste is decent. He's a very high attack speed in general. Morphling, there's a lot of cool items. So any attack speed would be good, but the number 1 item, believe it or not, on Morphling is what's it called? The Essence one, the one that cuts your cooldown in half. He will waveform constantly back and forth. It is really sick. If you get that, it feels unbelievable on a level 3 Morphling. For Viper, if you have not, you just want him to tank up. So Vanguard's really good. Just a plain, just any kind of armor really will be really good for this hero. And those are like the main ones that I would talk about. And obviously any DPS item for Dragon Knight is quite good in addition. And then Sand King, I mean, again, we're getting too into things. I mean, the Essence is also really good on Puck. If you can get 2 of them, that is hilarious because Puck's cooldowns are extremely low. So yeah, that is your basic guide to Primordial Mage Assassin. It does a lot of physical damage with the Sand King, Morphling, and Viper in terms of actually being an assassin. And I wouldn't say it's a lot of damage. It's a good amount of physical damage, but of course this is mostly magical damage. You got Sand King, both of his abilities, Caustic Finale, Burrow Strike, magic. Even Dragon Knight, who does physical damage, his Breathe Fire is magical. Tiny's Toss is magical. Viper's Corrosive Skin and Viper Strike are magical. Razor's Plasma Field is magical. Illusory Orb, Waveform. If you have Maelstrom and Arc Warden, this is all magic damage that gets amplified by having 3 mages. Now, the last thing I will talk about, and this happens maybe 20% of the games that I play with this build, sometimes I just don't find level 2 Arc Warden, and we're getting to the late stage of the game, and it feels like even if I get a level 2 Arc Warden, it's not going to make much of a difference. So what I do in a lot of cases is I start getting rid of some of these heroes, and I end up going 6 Mage, which you don't have much of a choice which mages to get. Ogre's kind of the one left out, but you still want the CC very badly. You probably want to get rid of one of your Primordials, which in this case I'll just get rid of Tiny, I suppose, and obviously Dragon Knight's not really part of this build normally. This is for level 8, and if you can get level 9 with Keeper, I mean the positioning here is all over the place, but the idea is that you do have the option of transitioning to 6 mages if you are looking at the other boards and you're saying, all right, my build can only take me so far, but if I get 6 mages, then I can actually win this game. And that happens fairly frequently, in all honesty. But yeah, that's your general guide to Primordial Mage Assassins. Hopefully you guys learned something. Until next time, Sunsfan signing out. Let us know if you enjoyed this, the way that we did this video, because we did change it up a little bit. So yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, Sunsfan signing out.